try to fix it. Try to figure out what that part of you is looking for. In the book, we're on path 9. So as we jump into tonight, we're on path 9, and it's about embracing failure. And in order to embrace failure, this is where Parzival, in the story of Parzival in the Quest for the Grail, he ends up going to the Grail Castle and he blows it. He doesn't have the tools to interact with what life is inviting him into. And so many men in their lives get invited into these spaces and they see massive failure, massive disappointment, because they don't know how to interact with the invitation. They don't know how to engage with the invitation. They don't know how to invest the invitation that's being given to them relationally, financially. All of the different ways in our life end up falling apart because nobody's trained us up in how to interact with those things. So we experience a measure of failure and disappointment. Now, there is no way to put a measurement on this. And for many of us, it's way different. So there's no scalability to failure and disappointment. Your failure and disappointment just looks different than mine. My failure and disappointment looks different than yours. And we're just going to have to engage with the reality that I have failures and disappointments in my life. And a part of story work is going back through your story and going, some of the trauma moments of your life was where there was failure or disappointment. Failure is what I chose personally. Disappointment is what I experienced relationally, right? So disappointment is a set of circumstances outside of necessarily, not really my control. It was connected to a set of expectations. Failure is I really tried and I didn't have the tools, or I really blew the whole thing up. Now that could have been on intention. You could have done it because you wanted to blow the whole thing up, you were rebellious, whatever that is. There's a whole lot, my whole point is there's a whole lot that falls into that. But here's what I'm trying to say. Failure and disappointment is supposed to be for us, teachers and guides. For us, we are supposed to experience failure and disappointment as teachers and guides, not punishment, not excuses, not an excuse, not prophecy. Oh, this is just the way my life goes. Now I'm just a victim to everything that happens, and not identity. Okay? We're supposed to see it as teachers and guides, not punishment, excuses, prophecy, or identity. If you are experiencing failure and disappointment as any of these things, it is because shame is now telling your story. Shame and guilt are now telling your story, not the courageous act of engaging with failure and disappointment as a way of moving your story forward. Okay? When you have shame and guilt in your life, if you anywhere in your life, this is a real tool, a practical thing you can do. If you have shame or guilt in your life, it is because you did not learn from your failure and disappointment. You turned it into a victimization, or you became a victim. Okay, I need you to hear that. This is really, really important. This is the root system of shame and guilt for so many men. I blew it. It didn't work out. Therefore, it must be punishment. It's an excuse not to try again. It's prophecy of how it's always going to go. Or it's just the way I am. It must be me. And when you do these things, guess what you'll avoid the rest of your life? Guess what you will avoid? Failure and disappointment. And what did we learn? We see this in scripture as well. We see it in this poem, this essay. It says that it's necessary for transformation. That's the point. It's necessary for transformation. And in the book, one of the things I quote is from a guy named Antonio Machado. I actually got to go to where he lives in Seville, in Spain, and we visited a couple of his spots. He was a poet, and he wrote this, and I love this. It says, where is it in here? Did I not put it in here? I did. I wrote it down. Let's see if I can find it. It is on page, oh yeah, I'm just on the wrong page. I've been reading too many things today. 162. Okay, it says this. Antonio Machado said this: mankind owns 4 things that are no good at sea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mankind owns 4 things that are no good at sea, and here's what they are: a rudder, an anchor, oars, and the fear of going down. Mankind owns 4 things that are no good at sea: rudder, anchor, oars, and the fear of going down. We cannot attempt to steer, stop, control, or respond in fear. Here's what each of these mean. So the first one, rudder, we want to control. So we face disappointment or failure, and all of a sudden, guess what we want? Now we want control. That's it. You know what? This will never happen again. I'll show you. I'll show you, life. I'm going to control all my circumstances from now on. Or we go, hey, this train is moving, and guess what? Not going any further. It stops here. Stops. We're stopping this train. I can see where this is going. I've experienced this before, prophecy. I've experienced this before, not going there. Oars, you know what? Screw everyone. I'm going to force my way through. I'm going to tell it where to go. I'm going to push my way through this thing. Not helpful. I've suffered failure and disappointment. Now I'm just going to force my way into every single thing I do. I'm going to force my way through it. I'm going to fix my marriage. I'm going to fix my job. That's like what it's like. We just try to push our way through all of it. Look how manly I am. So we try to control it. We try to stop it. We try to force it. And the last one, fear, we just freeze, which means we never even try. We never even go. Mankind owns things that are no good at sea: rudder, anchor, oars, and the fear of going down. This is what happens when we experience failure and disappointment on a regular basis in our life, which, by the way, we all just talked about. That is life. Like, you're not alive if you don't have failure and disappointment. It just means somewhere along the way you quit. That's like a couple. I love these couples. I get them all the time. They're like, yes, me and my wife, we never fight. I'm like, oh, then you guys aren't really having a relationship. That's a real bummer for you. If you don't fight, you're not really having any conversations, because all people disagree. It's a part of connection and intimacy is disagreement. Like, you didn't marry yourself, so there probably are places in your life where you disagree with your spouse or your friends or your coworkers. But the reality is, if we're avoiding it because of punishment, excuse, or prophecy or identity, it means that we're probably trying to do this because we're hanging on to a rudder, an anchor, an oar, or the fear of going down. Okay? This is not going to lead us to life. So what do we do? So, Jake, what do I do? What do I do? We integrate. We integrate, not fix. We write it this way. It's on the website and stuff. We talk about it as a value, as healing through wholeness. The Bible has another word for it, and the word is holiness. Holiness literally means to be whole. And so what do I mean by integrate, not fix? Here's the problem. What we want to do is we go, hey, there's a problem in my life. I've suffered failure and disappointment. So therefore, I'm just going to move forward. Therefore, I'm going to cut it off. Therefore, I'm going to move on. And the reality is that we have to learn how to integrate the parts of ourselves that have been through the biggest failures by having courage. I'm actually going to, here's the way that I would say it, is I'm going to learn from my mistakes instead of avoid mistakes. That's called integration. When I begin to engage with the part of me that continually makes the same mistakes, then I learn from that part of me. I integrate that part of me into who I am. So when I trip up, I know what that part of me who makes the mistakes is trying to achieve or trying to get done. Because here's what we're trying to say, right? We talked about this during the during the essay. We talked about it during discussing the essay, and what we discussed was the fact that there's parts of me that are continually tripping up into disappointment and failure because I have a set of expectations. I have a set of way of doing things. Why? Why is there a part of you trying to do things a specific way when it's not producing the results you can tell me you want? If the way you're doing things is not producing the results you want, stop doing those things. Stop. Stop having that same conversation with your wife that's leading you to a fight. Stop having that conversation with your friends that is leading to disagreement. Stop doing that thing in your business that is causing your business to fail 1,000 times and for you to lose money. Stop. Don't try to fix it. Try to figure out what that part of you is looking for. What are you looking for? You're doing it that way not because you're bad. You're doing it that way because you're looking for something, hoping for a result, and it's not producing it. So now I have to go and do the exploration. And I want you to do it with 3 questions. These are the 3 questions. What did I do in terms of failure or disappointment? What was the situation? What did I do? What happened, right? So that's just the situational. What happened? The second question is, what did I learn? What did I learn? What did I learn? What came out of this? Like, don't go, oh, that whole thing sucked. Oh, that was awful. That was terrible. No. What did I learn? What came out of that was something I can walk away with to help me grow? That takes real courage to engage with that. What did I learn? And the third question is, what would happen if I applied that knowledge to my circumstance today? What did I do? What did I learn? And then what would happen if I applied that knowledge, what I learned, the knowledge of what I learned, to my circumstance today? Because most of us never get that far. So we don't engage with it, so we don't learn anything, and then we don't apply it. What is applied knowledge called? Wisdom. So if we want to be men who walk in wisdom, we have to learn from our mistakes and then apply what we learned to circumstances that feel disconnected from that mistake. When we do that, we become men who walk in wisdom. That is the way this works. Okay? So that's a huge lot to cover in 12 minutes, but we got it. So, well, there it is. There it is. So I'm going to have you guys turn on your mics because I'm going to have you take your questions to the community. Saying everybody's got their microphones on, and let's do this together. Repeat this after me. I am the evidence of the strength of my ancestors. There are many things within my lineage that attempted to obliterate all forms of goodness. But I am the living proof that it did not work. All right. I will see you guys next Monday, and I will see you in the community. So go there, check out the daily drives this week, and I'll see you guys in the conversation. Good night, you guys.